Year 6 revision. Angles. Welcome to today's short revision lesson about angles, and our learning objectives today are to know and apply the properties of angles on a straight line, angles at a point, and equal opposite angles. So what is an angle and why are they important? And where are they used in real life? Well, angles are used in many fields, including architecture, which is the design of buildings, construction of buildings, navigation, robotics, and even sport. An angle is the measure of turn expressed in degrees. Angles can be measured by using a protractor. A full turn is 360 degrees, so therefore a half turn is 180 degrees, and a quarter turn is 90 degrees, otherwise known as a right angle. Adjacent angles, those that are next to each other and meet at a point on a straight line, sum or add up to 180 degrees. Here's a great activity for you to try. Cut out any triangle, a scalene, isosceles, equilateral, rip off the three angles, and you will always be able to reorder them as a 180 degree straight line. And this is because the three angles of any triangle always add up to 180 degrees, which is the same as a straight line. So here is an example of a question that involves angles on a straight line. The question says, calculate the missing angle, give a reason for your answer. Now we can see that on that straight line there are three angles. There is a green angle, there is a lighter orange, and there is a darker orange. Now what facts do we already know? We know that the green angle is a right angle, so that must be 90 degrees. And we also know that the darker orange angle that's been given to us is 62 degrees. So the missing angle must be what's left to give me the total of 180 degrees, which is a straight line. So how do we go about working this out? In the example on the left, you can see that we have 90 add 62. They're the two angles that we already know. And when we add them together, we get 152. So we know out of that 180 degree straight line, we already have 152 degrees accounted for. So what's left over? To calculate this, I subtract 152 from 180. Or I could count on from 152 until I reach 180. Either way, the answer is 28. So therefore the missing angle, which in this case is represented by the letter X, is 28 degrees. If we give a reason for our answer, as it's stated in the question, we know this because angles on a straight line always sum up to or add up to 180 degrees. Now moving on to angles at a point. Angles at a point sum up to or add up to 360 degrees, which is a full turn. Now here's another super activity for you to try. Take any quadrilateral, which is a four-sided shape, such as a square, rectangle, parallelogram, trapezium, and tear off the four corners from that same quadrilateral. When you rearrange them at a point, those four angles will make a 360 degree full turn. This is because the four angles of any quadrilateral always sum up to 360 degrees. And here we can see what it would look like if we place those four angles of the quadrilateral around a point. It would make a perfect full turn of 360 degrees. So just like before, here is an example of a question that involves angles at a point or a full turn. The question says, calculate the missing angle, give a reason for your answer. So what facts do we already know? Well, we know that the angles around a point must add up together to 360 degrees. That piece of information is vitally important. But what other facts do we know? Well, we can see already we've been given three angles. The darker orange angle is 108 degrees, the green angle is 117 degrees, and the lighter orange angle is 112 degrees. So how many degrees do I already know I have altogether? Well, if I add them together, I get 337 degrees. Now I know in a full turn there should be 360 degrees. So I can either subtract 337, as the example shows, from 360, or, because the difference is small, I could count on from 337 until I reach 360, which would be a hop of 3 and then a further hop of 20. Either way, my answer is 23 degrees, and we can see here that would be shown by the letter X, so X is 23 degrees. And the reason being, angles at a point add up to or sum to 360 degrees. Now we're going to have a look at opposite angles. Opposite angles are equal when two straight lines intersect each other. Now you may think that this question looks very similar to the previous one we've just looked at, where we were looking at angles around a point. However, there are some clear differences. If we return and look at the previous example, you'll notice that these lines are not straight lines intersecting each other. So here we have an example of a question where two straight lines have been drawn where they intersect each other. Now we can clearly see that the orange angles are both 106 degrees, and this is because in this case, where two straight lines intersect each other, opposite angles are always equal. So what other facts do I know that could help me out with answering this question? Well, I know the angles around a point sum up to 360 degrees. I also know that I have two angles that are equal of 106 degrees each. So if I add those two angles together, 106 add 106, that gives me 212 degrees so far out of my 360. However, how do I know what X is worth? One of the green angles. Now I know that the pair of angles remaining have to be equal. So what's my next step? Well, my next step is to subtract 212, which is the two angles of 106 degrees, from 360. When I do this, I'm left with 148 degrees to split between two equal remaining angles. So now what I need to do is to take my 148 degrees and I need to divide it by 2, or halve it. 148 halved or divided by 2 is 74. So therefore X is 74 degrees. And what are my reasons? Well, opposite angles are equal when two straight lines intersect. And I know that the angles at a point sum up to or add up to 360 degrees. Now here we have a problem and Olivia is a little bit stuck. So what do you think? Olivia thinks that these angles sum up to 180 degrees because they're on a straight line. Pause the screen if you can and have a look at the problem. What's wrong? That's right, did you spot it? Angles must be adjacent, which means next to each other, and meet at a point in order for them to sum to 180 degrees. Now it's your turn. Pause the screen and have a go at these three questions. If you've been listening in our revision lesson, these should be a breeze. The answers are on the next slide, but don't go there until you've had a good go. Okay, here are the answers. You can pause the screen and check to see if they match what you've got, and then we'll go through them one by one to see where you may have gone wrong, or where you've gone right. So for question 1, did you realise that we had 4 angles around a point? And the angles around a point and a full turn must total 360 degrees. So when you add 138, 116 and 36 together, you get 290 degrees. So if you then subtract 290 degrees from 360, or count on from 290 degrees until you reach 360 degrees, you will get the answer x equals 70. And for question 2, a little bit of a tricky one, this one. However, if we take things step by step, we'll certainly get there. We have to find the green angle x. Now, what do I already know? I can see that at the top here we have a straight line, which is split into two angles. Now, 152 degrees and another angle must total 180. So I'm going to either add up from 152 degrees until I reach 180, or I'm going to subtract 152 from 180 to give me the difference. So this angle here is 28 degrees. Now I know that when two straight lines intersect each other, opposite angles are equal. So therefore, the angle mirroring it has to be 28 degrees also. Now I know on this other side of the straight line, I have a 96 degree angle, a 28 degree angle, and the missing angle x, which I'm trying to find. So why don't I add 96 and 28 together, which would give me 124 degrees. And then once I know that my missing angle must be what I need to add to 124 degrees to reach 180 degrees. Well, first of all here, I hope you spotted that this is a straight line. So therefore, all the angles that are adjacent and meet at a point should total up to 180 degrees. I have two angles already, 78 degrees and 34 degrees. If I add those together, that will total 112 degrees. So I can either count on from 112 degrees until I get to 180, or I can subtract 112 from 180 to find the difference. Either way, I'm left with 68 degrees as my answer. Did you manage to find the answer? If so, well done. If not, don't worry, don't give up. Just keep trying and keep practicing.